Welcome all. I hope everybody enjoyed the weekend and the installment of a new president, and everyone is excited. Let's see, we know who's here. We got Doug, we've got Mike, we've got Jamie, we've got Christy, we've got myself and Kevin. So that's a good, we're here. Looking at the agenda, are there any citizens petitions that we have to deal with at this point? Anybody in the participants lounge that?
No, not right now.
Very good then. We will move directly to the meeting minutes from our previous meeting on.
I'll move approval of January 7, 2021 meeting minutes.
Jamie, you were doing.
I was giving a little wave.
I thought you had something to.
I did, because I don't know if you, I just have a question about the minutes. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
And I could be messing up my date, but I didn't see anything in there about our discussion about the locks, because I know there was a temporary fix at the locks at the middle school, and then there's going to be a sample broad. Did I miss it totally and just not reading carefully?
Probably not, but you probably should second it first, and then you can have your discussion.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, but you probably didn't miss it. There was a discussion. Yeah. And we have some information. Sam had some additional information tonight too. So.
I got one possible correction, unless I'm wrong. Was Kelly at the last meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
I did not see her name.
Kelly Nelly?
Kelly Nelly.
Yeah, she was here. You know why? Because what happened is I see where the hiccup is. She's moved up into members present. That's an error.
Yeah, she's not a member.
Right. So if you look at that's an error, and that
okay.
that was I don't honestly know how that happened, but I will fix it and have the correction sent out.
No problem. I missed her name then.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm making a
Very
note
good.
now.
You people are reading very closely. I like it.
Hey, Dave.
Well, she made up for it. There's 3 of her now.
Got promoted, I guess, too. To a
Oh, we've
member.
got another one. We've got Kelly's doppelganger.
I figure I show my face since
This is what
that's
she
not
looks
my
like.
name.
Yes.
Will the
That's not
real
fair.
Kelly Nelly please stand up?
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I may knock the camera off.
Okay. I would like to hear a second before we have discussion.
Yeah,
right?
I think Jamie did that.
Oh,
didn't
did
you,
she?
Jamie?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've dealt with the correction of where Kelly belongs as far as that goes. And then Jamie had a question about locks.
Yeah, we had a discussion last time about the locks and how, there was going to be the temporary fix until it was actually kind of a lengthy one, until we had the samples that were coming. I think it was supposed to be, I forgot, I wrote it down. I'd have to come back through where my notes are as far as the sample locks that were going to be brought.
Yep.
Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah, yes, we need to add that to the minutes that we talked about the Groton Middle School lock, temporary locks.
Yeah, it's it's
Just for record traffic.
No, you're 100% right, folks. It was on the last set. I just pulled up the old minutes. That's what I'm looking at. So it was on the last set of minutes, and let me make sure it should have still exist because there was an update, but it looks like it got missed when it was processed. Hold on one second. Lock issue was under Groton Consolidated Middle School. Yeah, inadvertently it got dropped. So I'll take the edits and the notes from the last meeting and have that corrected, and then we'll resend them out.
All right. Then,
Brian, with that correction, please, can you please make it state that it needs to be approved by all the parties? Because I know the fire marshal had questioned about it also last time.
Yeah, no problem. We'll do. I'm sorry about the confusion.
No worries. And we'll table this until we all get a chance to see the edits. That
Okay.
makes sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry this got pushed.
Not to worry. This crowd will correct anything.
Someone's got to keep me honest, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to table that for the moment. If you would do us a favor of getting them out, at your earliest convenience, that would be great, and then we can deal with them at the next time around.
Yeah, I'll forward them out. They go to Kelly, and then they go to Brandon, and then they get popped up. But I'm gonna email these tonight to Kelly, and especially considering the edits that need to be made, and try to get something pushed out. If not tomorrow, Monday.
Yeah,
Excellent,
and
thanks.
this is a different Kelly, not our Kelly. It's a
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I got lots of Kellys in my life. I can't avoid the name.
Very good then. All right, moving on to communications and reports. PSBC members, anybody have anything for us?
No, not me.
I got nothing.
No.
Amy? Very good, then we can move on to consultants.
As I mentioned, Bob, we do have the architect here to talk about furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. We were hoping that PSBC would, and we tried to send it out as early as we could. We got the budget out. There's the drawings attached with it, and the manual was all sent out to you folks. There's still work to be done on the drawings to get them based on a meeting we had with OSCGR today. Some nits that they want fixed, nothing major really, just to get them, show a couple of different items. Ones like, will all the chairs, for example, that are in the cafeteria fit in the storage for the cafeteria? So a couple of really kind of minor things like that. And just finishing up some edits to the project manual, if you will. The budget was reviewed by Barbara Fabiani. There was a couple of questions of whether it's eligible for reimbursement or not. Those were the only changes. There was really no change in value. So the budget that Joe shows you.
What was she questioning in terms of reimbursement?
I'm sorry? They were very small items like these cushiony chairs or whatever. Will they last 20 years? You know, so there were some questions over how long will some of this stuff last? I mean, there was nothing, a microwave oven, for example. There was a couple of very small items, doesn't affect the overall amount of the budget. So I'll let Joe get into that as he goes through the budget. We would hope that the committee tonight could approve that so we can have Bob LaFrance sign that. We're scheduled to go to the Board of Education meeting on Monday to do a similar presentation and get them to approve them. And then we go to the state or talk with the state virtually again on the 4th of February. So what that does is between the 25th and the 4th, and you know the drill, you guys know the drill, we got to collect all these signatures and route these things around to get those signatures. So it gives us some time to do that. And of course, we won't ask for the chair's signature or the superintendent's signature till all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So there will be a complete final document. But again, they're all nits, if you will, kind of minor things. Nothing really major was identified at today's meeting. So from there, I'll let Joe take it and he can run you through the stuff.
Sure, yeah, thanks and good to see you guys again. I'll keep my part of it brief because Lindsay, who is also posing as Kelly Nelly down below, is really the brains of the operation for this. But Rick's right. What our review with Barbara uncovered was nothing that changes the scope. In other words, we were still purchasing the same number of things. They're still in the same rooms, all that kind of stuff. There's just kind of an unimaginable amount of paperwork that you have to generate for that, and she wanted to see it in certain different ways. So that was mostly the changes. The other thing I would ask before I pass it to Lindsay is there anything in particular that the commission's interested in seeing, or do you want to just have us walk through the estimate and we can take it from there?
My feeling is if you walk it through the estimate, then we may come up with, we've all had a chance to look through it, and I'm sure several of us have questions, but if you go through the estimate, walk through it, so everybody has the same general understanding of what's going on, then that would be actually very useful.
And Joe does have the plans available too. So if there's a question on a particular room or where it goes or that kind of thing, that information is available also. Plus the previous presentation that you all saw a long time ago that really hasn't changed all that much from, if at all, from then to now. So there is additional information for whatever questions you may have. And we go from there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Lindsay.
So we'll start by going through the Cutler
Lindsay, I'm
Elementary
going to
estimate.
interrupt you real quickly. Could whoever has their mic not muted, please mute it?
You're coming in very weak too, Bob, sound wise. So I'm not sure what that's.
That any better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so good. Whatever that background was has disappeared. So
Okay.
I'll quiet myself.
So just quickly, so everyone understands what we're looking at, the tag section in this document will refer to the letter and number, how the symbols are tagged on the plan, so you can locate all of these items in plan, and on their individual product data sheets, which just further details and specifies the exact product we're getting. You have a small image here for reference to make it easier to understand, and we have the manufacturers and the descriptions of each piece. The unit costs, followed by the quantity, which gives us our final extended cost for each piece. And then we'll have totals at the end. So the as it's being highlighted, the extended costs are either landing in the eligible or the ineligible column. You know, just kind of some smaller pieces that are the ineligible items. That don't have like the lifespan and the long warranty that some of the other bulkier items have. Yeah, the Connecticut contract number, that shows you which contract number we're purchasing each item off the state. There's a collection of 5 or so contracts that we're procuring off of. And as well as the dealer column just shows which dealer we're acquiring each of these items off of. So if there's any questions on any item, I think we can, most of this is pretty self-explanatory. This A section is sort of just these accessory items, small things like the flags, some small stools. We have a drying rack here for the art room, sand and water tables, that sort of thing. One mobile whiteboard. Then the, oh, I think you might have gone down 2 pages. Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, just the AP section is very small, the few appliances that we're procuring for the school. Just a microwave. Oh, sorry, question?
You are taking questions on the AP. We're saying WB Mason is the one who is supplying this. They basically don't deal with appliances. Where are they getting their appliances for? How much guarantee do the school system have in case of breakdown or anything else? And how do they price it out, being a 21.9 or a 5.6 cubic foot?
So all these items are available for procurement from a range of dealers on the state contracts. The state contract is what determines the price. And so that's how WB Mason is able to offer these.
And the guarantee, if anything goes wrong, who's covering it? Because they have so many years guaranteed to the product or warranties.
Correct. Really, the only appliance that there was a concern, which we discussed with Barbara, would potentially be the microwave, just because that's a smaller appliance. In terms of the refrigerators, I believe those have a warranty that's acceptable by the state for their lifespan that the state's budget covers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So as we check those warranties, if it's not verified that, for example, the microwave is, if that warranty isn't acceptable by the state, they may ask us to move it to the ineligible column. If that's the case, it'll be a small change in where that, that amount is moving. We only have 2 microwaves in each school. Around $380 is estimated. But we're trying to have the state accept it.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that those are probably in use in the faculty rooms.
Yes, it's just for the faculty room. Yep, so we can keep flipping through. So after that appliance category comes the B category, which is a lot of like book related storage. And so we have the different shelving that will be in the media center, some shelving that will be in the classrooms. This includes the shelves for the blocks, for the pre-KK classrooms. The depressible book cart for the media center, which will go under the millwork desk. A few more bookcases. The next category is the chairs with the C tags. We have the different height chairs for the different grades.
Sorry, Jamie, did you have a question?
I did. I have a question about, I think it's C10. And I just wasn't sure. It says 28 of those chairs. And when I looked it up in like the giant description, it says cafeteria, but I wasn't sure. Can someone describe C10 for me and where those seats might be?
So those chairs are the C10 through the C12 chairs. Those are all located in the faculty dining.
Okay, I thought it said cafeteria, so I was like, I wasn't sure
Okay.
about that. Okay, great, thank you.
Maybe I'll double check that distinction to make sure that that's
I can look
clear.
right now too. Maybe I flagged the wrong thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is another chair, for example, the C9 that would be located in the cafeteria. That's the chair that is will be used for any sort of assembly or
Yeah.
performances in the cafeteria space. Okay.
It's totally it. I flagged the wrong one. It is C9. Thank you. Because I looked, I was like, only 28. Sorry. Thank you.
We could point that out quickly on the drawings in case it's confusing, because there is sort of like a separate blow up plan off to the side. Yeah, just because we're showing the two different layouts that'll happen in this space. So the one layout here shows the chair setup in view of the performance area, whereas the view here shows the cafeteria table setup for the lunchtime setting. Okay, yeah, so this section is really just all the different chairs used in the product. We've specified sort of the size of each of them, small, medium, large chairs for the different age groups. You can go to the next page. Here we have the cafeteria tables with the CF tags. Then is the desks. That first one there is the teacher's desk. It's got all that storage built in. Then we've got the student desks, some of the other office desks.
I have a question about the flip forms, I think it is.
Sure, yeah. Actually, I think we were just on the page.
Yep, you were. I don't know what number it is.
It should be under M, the tag M for music.
Is it M5?
There we go, M5, yes.
Those are risers, correct?
Yes.
Yep, those are the ones that we did want, but we aren't getting metal ones too, correct? Those are the flip forms, you can put them in different ways, but not metal.
Right. From the discussions with the school, we found that these were the more age appropriate option.
Yep, this is what we wanted. Thank you.
Okay, so this is still the preference product.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
Great, yeah, so this is the music category, which includes the music chairs, music stands, and a associated carts to store and move those. Then in the N category, we have items for the nurse suite. So the cots labeled as the recovery couches, some small tables, rolling stool for the staff member in there. The double lock cabinet for meds. Then in the R category, we have the different rugs, a few different sized rugs. Typical classrooms will have the colorful rectangles. We have a specific one for the music room, and then a gray one for the media center. Next in the ST category is the just different storage pieces. A lot of the first ones shown here are for the art rooms. So lots of varied storage types that they'll have. Some of the smaller storage pieces on wheels, those are going into the special ed, different program rooms. Then the T category, we've got the tables, includes a lectern. We've got the kidney-shaped table, various different sized tables for the different classrooms with the bins underneath. Okay, yep, more tables here. We've got the conference table, some meeting tables. The T15 is a really nice sort of presentation or working big group table for the art room. And then these numbered items here make up the system of the Wenger pieces that are the storage for the instruments. So we've got those based on the lists we were given of the instruments and providing for a bit of flexibility too. There's some cabinets that have adjustable shelves that you can move in and out based on your needs. And I believe that's the end of the PE furniture items. So at the top there, you'll see the total amount of the eligibles and the ineligibles as it stands right now. And then the combined total of the whole package for Cutler. And then the next section here are the items from B and G. I don't know if Kelly wants to speak to any of these items here, unless there are any questions before we move on.
Just a note, Rick dropped out. He's having a computer issue. He's trying to get back in. So just so everybody knows, he'll be back shortly, just for the rest of the committee's purposes.
Thanks, Brian.
Sorry, Lindsay.
So on the building and
problem.
ground items, where there will be, filled in images, and this list was received from Sam and his guys, so it should be everything that they need.
So this is Mike Doyle. I lost my screen of you guys. The chairs are all, the chairs are all proven and have been used before, and we're not the first school ever to have these chairs and models in our school.
These are definitely tried and true models. And I very much trust in the manufacturer that we work with. I've had situations on schools where the client wasn't happy, these KI chairs in particular, and they've replaced, they do a really great job just on the customer satisfaction end. I really trust them as a manufacturer.
Okay, thank you.
And these are great, ergonomic chairs. They've got a little flex, a little movement to them. Definitely very sturdy.
Kelly, can we go to that last page again? I'm just intrigued by the percentage of ineligible versus eligible here on this last page. Is there some particular reason for that?
It's the tractor that raises that number for the ineligible. Are you questioning why our ineligible number is so high?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that tractor. Other than that, it's very minimal.
What are we buying a tractor for?
I think it's required for each project for buildings and grounds. Sam, I don't know if you want to chime in
Sam, you
for
want to cut in here
specific
and tell me
use.
why we're buying two of them?
because we have two schools. So these are for snow removal. With these new schools, we have a lot more sidewalk, so it's mostly for sidewalk cleaning and also snow removal.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's probably
now
best
makes
to have
sense.
two with the amount of sidewalks you have to be able to finish it in time for school to start.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Good. So any other questions or anything that you guys would like to see?
Anybody have any further questions?
No, I'm good.
So the other thing that I would have you point out is how do these numbers compare to what we had budgeted? Just so everybody gets an idea here.
Our budget was $1 million for each school.
So you're about 90, 80 low.
Yep.
That's pretty good. It's not bad.
No, it's great. The way better situation in the middle school, because you figure the middle school, you only had $1 million as well. Well, now it's a little less, but you know, compared to the size, it's immensely better at the elementaries.
Okay, I'm back, guys. Sorry, I ran away.
Eric, so we offer, we don't have any really further questions. I think maybe it's just, we can discuss, you know, approvals and that sort of thing.
So there are the two projects as you've been and noticed. The budget, as Brian just said, it's $1 million on each school. So we do have some wiggle room in here, not that we expect to spend any more, but obviously if something changes, we'll need to come back to the committee because it's then out of scope stuff. Can everybody hear me okay? Because I had to get on my own personal laptop because the other one died on me. And you know, as you've gone through there, you see the eligible and most of the ineligible stuff is bought on state contracts. So everything that we can will be bought on state contract, which makes it a whole lot easier to get approval through the state. And Barbara at the state was happy to hear that. So we're, you know, we're kind of ready to move forward, take this to the Board of Ed. And of course, the Board of Ed always asks the question, what did you guys think? And so that's kind of where we are. So what I'd like to do, if possible, if I can have a motion for by the committee to approve the package for FF&E for both Cutler and Westside. And I know the Board of Ed likes to use the other names, but we're tied to Cutler and Westside because that's the state project name. And I think we ought to have an individual one for each one. And then if the committee would authorize Bob LaFrance to sign the appropriate documentation as part of that resolution, if you will, and we could get a vote on those, then we'll move forward and keep Bob apprised, who can keep you apprised of where we stand with the documentation and getting that in order.
I'll make a motion
So
to,
hold it before we do that. We've now looked at Cutler. I'm assuming that the stuff for the Thames River is essentially identical. Is that correct?
There's a couple of differences, and there are these movable wall panels. Is that right, Lindsay? Is that the school with the wall panels, or was this one?
Yes, West Side is the one with
West Side
the
has the wall.
Yeah, why don't you call that
mountable
one?
partitions.
Yeah, call
And
it
that's the main difference, but the budgets came out very close.
Yeah,
I
if you
just want to
could
make
call-
sure that the committee has seen both of these as a group, and any
Great.
questions that we may have about them have been brought up and dealt with.
So can I ask, so what's the purpose of the partitions at one building, and would it be something that's needed at the other? Like, was it magnet themed, or was it?
Jamie, are you still, can you?
And I can tell you, if I'm correct, and I don't have the exact term, but I believe it's our academy program. We needed to build in a space, 2 spaces within that. I believe that's what you're talking about. I just don't know the technical term.
Oh, is that, Jamie, was that in place of the fact that we had not built in those extra walls?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
Got it.
I thought,
Perfect sense.
yeah,
And the other project you saw was those carols or work areas, if you will, that are similar to the
yeah.
middle school. And those
And that
were
would
for
be the ABA.
program at that school, right?
You know, I do have a couple questions. I just want to make sure there is a stand-up desk. I think I saw it. I thought I did. I had flagged it, but now I've lost my flag. Because admin, I all want one. I know that the other, there it is. Yeah, so that's a stand-up. The other one I need to do, some of the cabinetry will have to have locks. So I don't know if the cabinet, obviously that's something you can
Yes.
put on.
So that's the, that I believe is being incorporated into the ABA and Cutler. We can look at that item really quickly if we.
Actually, I was thinking about West Side. West Side definitely needs locking cabinets in the academy program.
And that's outside the scope of this issue. That's more of the
For sure. I just wanted, yeah,
installed materials. Or
that's
whatever.
fine.
So casework, if you will. So if we could get through this, then we'd be happy to deal with casework issues and all those other things, just to keep things clean, if you will.
Yeah, and definitely, Jamie, if you can relay that to Rick and to Kelly so that they can send something to us, then we can.
Yeah, we would do that.
That's fine. Thank you.
I do have one quick question more to Sam than anything is, given the issue that you've had with the white floor tiles at the middle school, what are we using to clean the floors in the 2 elementary schools at this point? Are we buying another floor cleaner piece?
Yeah, that's on the list, and it's the same. The tiles are different, if you will. They don't have the texture, so they'll be flat, probably easier for Sam to clean, but those items are listed on the items here for purchase.
EG,
Sam can go into it.
EG2 is the scrubber.
EG2, yeah.
So
Okay.
it's probably the same cleaning requirements. You know, you have to use a low speed, you have to do whatever because those tiles.
Yeah, I just knew that Sam was having an issue keeping the tiles at the middle school clean because of their color. I just wanted to make sure that whatever we were purchasing here was going to be sufficient to keep these tiles clean.
Yeah.
I think the problem was twofold. Number one, the field is mostly white, and the white tiles do get dirty quicker and show it quicker versus the tans and the grays. And the second thing was the fact that there's a grain in those floor tiles, which is trapping the dirt too. So those are the issues. And if we go to a flat tile and maybe make the white the highlight color in these schools, it'll help custodial staff.
And as I recall, Joe, these are 18 by 18 square, right? Primarily.
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah, so they're actually a larger, different shape, if you will, than the tiles at the middle school. So
yeah, and very neutral.
Yeah, they're actually off-white colors. One is like a gray and the other is like a creamy gray. So there's no white.
Good, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we had something that was going to make Sam happier.
Can we see the last?
I did review this portion of the list and we discussed it.
Yeah, can we see the last page with the totals? Yeah, thank you.
Just so we don't get too far ahead. So we didn't really review West Side. I had heard some people asking to review West Side. So are you looking for a quick page turn of West?
I remember.
I'm just asking because if Lindsay, if you wanted a page turn, West
We
Side.
could. We could still do this pretty quick. Most of it's relatively the same.
Yeah, I think you pointed out the things that are different and why they're different. And unless anybody has a specific question, I think we could probably move ahead here.
Was that sent to us as well? Because I didn't get that attachment. Can that also be sent? Because I definitely did not get the West Side one.
Actually, I thought of one other piece to point out. If we want to go up to the music section, the M tags, it was requested that we have one mobile cello rack added to one of the schools. And so that one has been thrown into West Side and it's not included in Cutler because we were told that there would be existing instrument storage for those brought.
You can make it into whatever you want. Like you can, people make it into routers, make it into like.
So if there's any questions or concerns on that, that's one other difference. Otherwise, I don't think I see any other difference.
So Jamie, to answer your question, if you did not get it, we can easily get that to you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. We'll double check and then we can always push West Sides out to you. It's the same format, same documents, the work's completed. Well, 99.9, is that fair, Lindsay? So yeah, we can definitely make sure that you have that. We'll go back and check the email now.
This is just nomenclature. What's an oath task chair? One of the chair I thought on
Oh,
my.
so the oath is just the name of the product. It's just the name of that the company gives it. And the task chair really just describes that it's on that 5-star base and it has the wheels. So it's a working chair.
Okay, then okay, since size for kids, I guess, or there's 60.
Oh no, that's like the faculty and the teacher chair.
Oh, 60 teachers. Okay. Okay, thanks.
All right, Rick, you're still looking for a motion, yes? And we should do these individually, is that correct?
I don't see Rick anymore. Hold
I
on.
don't either.
Yeah, I think you lost him again.
But
Poor
yes,
guy.
I think you're correct, Bob.
Yes, I believe you're correct, Bob. That would be helpful.
Then Bob, also, the Groton Public Schools Cutler FF&E estimate of $939,170.84. I'll move.
Thank you, Kevin. So Kevin has moved the Cutler budget.
I'll second it.
David, thank you. We've had a long discussion on these, so all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed?
I have a question, actually. Do we want to say a number in there? Because it's going to change possibly, because this is an estimate.
Oh, no. We're not putting the number there. We're just giving them the go-ahead to go to the state and go to,
Okay, Kevin said the number though, so
yeah.
have to exceed $1 million, I guess.
This is what they're taking to the Board of Ed, and then we'll bring it on further.
Okay, then I agree. Aye.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, that one passed unanimously. Very good. Moving on to the West Side budget. I'd be willing to hear a motion to accept that as well.
I'll make a motion to move the West Side FF&E.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passed unanimously as well. Congratulations, Brian, you've got them both.
Do we need a motion for allowing you to sign, authorizing you to sign this? Or no?
It's a good idea.
I move that Bob Austin LaFranche, chairperson of the Building School Committee, sign both off.
I can second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passed unanimously as well.
Oh, great. At least I got back for the vote. I lost another computer. I'm leaving a trail of damage.
Don't worry, you apply it this time.
Thank you all for your indulgence.
We'll bring you up to
Passing
speed,
that.
Rick.
Hey, before we go any further, how many more computers you got, Rick, so we know how fast to go?
Well, I know. And then my boss says I got to buy the new desktop out of the project. I'm going, wait a minute. I think he's trying to tell me something that after the project we go.
Just to bring you up to speed, Rick, we had a motion for each of the FF&E budgets, and then we had a third motion allowing me to go ahead and sign.
Okay, so we'll get those things. We'll continue to work, Joe, Kelly and I, and Brian will work to get these things together, get them to you for signature. We, for example, have to get the ADA officers to sign. He's down at town hall, so we'll bring him up here and brief him. You know, the fire marshals need to take a look at the positioning of the furniture. So, and hopefully that's all. So, because we need their signatures on this document. It's the same document you've seen for the going through the planning session or the plans, you know, for the original construction stuff. So the work's not over and we'll continue and keep you guys cut in on it. And so thank you for that part.
Very good.
Thank you.
Then we can move on to staff and program manager.
Okay, Joe, I guess you folks can take off if you want. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks.
Lindsay and Joe.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
talk to you tomorrow.
Goodbye. other
Thank you, guys.
Excellent.
Kelly and Kelly, goodbye. The other Kelly, stick around.
Well, she could probably change her name, but you know, you gotta.
I
Try
don't
to
think Jonathan would like that very much.
try to sneak out, huh, Kelly?
Oh, now I know which the real Kelly is.
Yep.
All right.
Okay,
Yes, we're at
future, I
that.
guess we'll go on to staff reports. Is that where you are now?
That's where we are.
Okay. We do have a sad note that Tammy's father-in-law passed away today, just late this afternoon. So she's gone. Brian's going to fill in for her and on the middle school and let you know where that's going. Sort of a highlight. Oh, I got a part we can talk about in new business or old business on the middle school too, close out. So I'll leave that until we get to that section. And I'll let Brian fill you in on what's going on over there. I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape. We're getting very close to closing out. And of course, we want to do that and turn it over to Sam, which Sam was probably getting a list of things already from folks that are either warranty or other stuff. So without further ado, Brian, you can take it from here and fill us in on that.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah. So, you know, at the middle school, well, I guess this will come up later, but there was a lock set that was delivered and installed and reviewed. So there'll be a bigger update on that momentarily once we get to that section of the minutes. Actually, I can probably cover it now, considering I dropped it off inadvertently. So the lock set came in and everybody that needed to be present was present and reviewed it. My understanding is, I wasn't there personally, but my understanding in the report I received from Tammy is that everybody that's involved with the approval process of that has signed off on that necessary lock set. That is going to now be implemented at the middle school. Obviously it has to be ordered and, you know, there's a procurement time. That's awfully close, Kelly. And there's procurement time and the like. And then once those come in, we'll get those all installed and rectified. So it works better for everybody that sort of.
And of course, we got to get Jamie and the principal at the elementary schools. There's a section of a door it came with, you know, and we all touched it, felt it, whatever. You know, and I think and Sam has it there. He can show you that it operates. If you lock it from the inside, you can't get in from the outside. But he can unlock it from the inside and then be able for his custodians to come in and out. So, and it opens from the inside out to let somebody back in. Somebody has to go to the door and let them in physically. So, I think it meets everybody's requirements, but I'll let Sam tell you what, if there was any questions from the staff over at the middle school. So.
Okay, yeah, so this morning I took the sample over and met with the principal and all the assistant principals at the same time and went over this with them. And they were in all agreement that this will satisfy their needs. The biggest point of this new lock set is that or the problem with the lock sets at the middle school presently, according to the staff, is that if a student leaves the classroom, the door unlocks and then somebody has to remember to go lock it again in an event. And of course, you're putting a key in a critical situation and nerves play a big part in doing that or not being able to do it properly. So in this case, the teacher will come into the classroom in the morning, lock their door. The door remains locked all day long unless they go out of the room and come back in, and they would lock it again if they came back in. So a student can exit the classroom. It remains locked. They'll come back, knock on a door if they went to the lavatory, whatever, a student or the teacher will have to let the kid back in. So.
And there's actually a little flag, if you remember the restrooms at the middle school, there's a little flag on there that says locked, unlocked at the bottom.
I can't see it on the camera here, but
Yeah.
there's a little, when it is locked, there's a little red flag in this button right here that says that it's locked. So it's visible by the teacher too, to see that it is definitely locked. And when it's unlocked, it turns gray or a shade of gray. So locked red, unlocked black.
Yeah. So if you and Stephen need to see that, Jamie, we can certainly get it by to you. I mean, Sam has it, so.
I'll get by and see Jamie and Steve with it.
Yeah, so
I think
you
everybody.
guys can take a look at it, make sure it's what you need, but the middle school is happy with it, from what I understand. We don't have a price yet, Bob, so we're gonna have to get that and let you folks know what that is. I think people want to move forward, but as soon as I can get that information, I'll send you an email and let you know what that is, and then you can ask me all the questions you want. So we'll go from there.
One question. With the purchasing of the new locking mechanism, the old mechanism, is there credit or anything? for that? Or
No,
we
it's
recoup any money?
been installed, so there's none.
We can't
so-
sell it.
I don't know that we can't, but
Oh, you own it, so
yeah, we own it. We can do whatever we want with it, but
yeah, if you have a way to sell it off, I mean, that's fine. I mean, we can even, I guess I'll go far out on the limb here and probably get myself in trouble, but you know, there'll be an effort at some point, you know, when we vacate the other schools where there's lists of stuff that is going to be, you know, sold. And if we want to add, you know, 48 lock sets, whatever it may be, you know, identified keying and the like, you know, there's a thought behind that. The only thing that would cause me pause, Kevin, would be the fact that I'd want to take the tumblers out, because you don't, you know, because you have a light keying system probably for the building that may interface with other doors that doesn't have, you know, the same type of thing. And you wouldn't want to get rid of that if it's on that same keying hierarchy. You may cause yourself some safety concerns potentially. So that would be the only thing that I would say that we'd have.
If they knew where the tumblers came from.
Well, you know, I'm a safety type of guy, right? So, I mean, my thing is we could do whatever you guys want is what my point.
Well, I can tell you that both my locksmith and I would prefer that we keep the lock sets on board, because some of the parts will be usable to repair some of these others. And again, the tumblers we could use, and we'd prefer them not to be out somewhere else too,
so there you go. So we'll keep them.
Good. That solves that problem. I told you I was going to step in it. Okay. So,
or on it, over it.
I have a question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Sam, when we toured the middle school the other day, there were some of these locks that had these indicators for locked and or not locked, and they weren't, the colors weren't changing, I guess, or wasn't correct, like near the elevators.
No, and those are the staff bathrooms, right? That were by the elevators.
So they didn't, the indicators weren't working, I guess. It was locked, but it didn't indicate locked.
Okay. Well, that's the first we've heard of that, so we'll have to take a look at it. We'll get
yeah, nobody made me aware of that one. I don't know whether Tammy knows it or not, but
Okay. I thought Sam and I were looking at them together at the same time, and I didn't think about it too hard while we were walking through.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I'll get O&G to take a look at it, test them all, make sure they all work.
Okay. All right. So as far as punch list items go, if my memory serves me, it is 31 punch list items left, and 9 of said punch list items are visual display board, marker type board. Unfortunately, we got them all. They all came in, except they were all the same size, which doesn't meet the needs of what we need at the middle school. So they're gonna install what they have. They're gonna return the rest, and they're making a new order that's going to be turned around. Besides that, the items are fairly limited in scope. You know, there's some cleanup items. There's a couple of items left that has to do with a seal along an edge of a floor, an expansion joint. You know, there's some of those miscellaneous items. But in any case, when we, you know, we'll continue to work on them. The roofer was there today. They installed the remainder of the roof ladders that was outstanding. Finalizing things like warranty binders and documents. Arcadis made a fairly good effort to go through all of that stuff. We provided O&G with some feedback, sent that back, revise and resubmit. They're going to turn around and make those necessary corrections and start turning that stuff back into us. Rick has a mountain of boxes at the annex in the Arcadis office that stretches from one side to the other, which is all closeout documents. So we're making really good progress, and I think O&G understands the marching orders, and Rick has been pretty, and Greg and the rest of us, frankly, but have been pretty blunt that, you know, we got to shake a stick at this and get this done. There will be items that are spring related items that we have to deal with, of course. You know, but those will all be on a list that's met at the very end when we go to recommend for turnover. Anything that remains will be denoted on that list. You know, that's pulled off town requirements, P&Z, you know, punch list items, whatever it may be, and it will all be clearly laid out and identified. And we hope to have that number much smaller than, let's call it 31 before we get there, and we're not far away. So we're working hard at that. I think those are the big highlights. Oh, the bollards should be in the next week or so. Those are all the bollards at the back of the handicap drive that need to go in. The 3 in the front will remain temporary while we wait for those stainless steel ones, but that'll be an easy unbolt, rebolt type situation. So that'll happen pretty quickly, but we'll go in and put those bollards in as soon as they come in the next week or so. I don't think I missed anything. I missed anything, Rick?
No, but if you don't, if you'll indulge me, I might as well talk about the other closeout stuff we got going on now, since Brian's already started into it. I've drafted a letter, like we had last time, where the Permanent School Building Committee recommends to the Board of Education they accept the building. There is a few things in there. We have a conditional certificate of compliance on site work, which most of that revolves around grass replanting, trees, those sorts of things that can't be finished up till the spring. We do have listed on there the site sign, which we're scheduled to go to planning on Tuesday. So Tuesday night, we'll make a presentation to planning. We did receive the Sutton Park sign. I have it downstairs in the garage below this building. I mean, the thing looks like it's huge. When you put it in the ground, it doesn't look so huge, but it's down there. So we were trying to get that in before we went to planning, but it's not going to happen, because it would have been nice to say, this is what it is now. And that sign's already there, but it's not. So we'll deal with that. And we do have a memo, or actually an email from the zoning officer that says that sign doesn't count against the frontage, which is an issue that was brought up previously. So SLAM's ready to make that presentation. We'll do that Tuesday night to the Planning and Zoning Commission and go from there. You know, the letter I drafted, I sent to Brian. He took a quick look. Greg Hanover has it right now. It does talk about those things. There is a list of a few items that need to be completed, but there's nothing that keeps the building from being used or operating the way it should right now. So, and that's of course a big consideration. I did look at the financials. I went back to the original for construction, for example. I went back and looked for the original construction budget. It was $70 million and change. We're currently at about 69 and change. So we're like 950,000 under what our original estimate is. We haven't delved into really what the construction contingency was, or the project contingency, which is $5 million. So we're in the $6 million frame. we're looking at recovering money from testing, for example. The person or the company had for building inspector wanted to have, 2 inspectors there. We said absolutely not. So there's money that's going to come back from there. There's money that's coming back from all the allowances, not in our contract, although we're going to get some back from the construction manager contingency, but also all of the construction contracts the construction manager had small pieces and parts of money that come back to the town. So we're working on that right now at some point, and it'll say that in the letter that once we get all the finances arranged, which isn't necessary for turnover, but at that point, when we're ready to say the project's closed, we gotta go back to the state, get the superintendent to sign an EDO 49F, which is final, and request the audit. So that should be in the next couple months. The biggest hanging out, or the longest kind of pole in the tent really is getting the sign completed down at the bottom of the hill. So people have been alerted that we need cost on that as soon as we can get it. So as soon as we get through Tuesday night, we'll be getting a cost and figure out how we get that installed. But it'll probably be with the existing site contractor, but we need to look at what his price is and go from there. So we're approaching closeout. We'd like to get the building turned over, by the middle of February. So probably at the next meeting, think of any questions you may have or what the process is. And I'll hopefully, and I'll get you the draft letter, obviously beforehand, Bob. I could send it to you probably tomorrow or the next day when Greg's done looking at it. And then we can get you folks to say, yeah, it's ready to turn over, and we'll get the letter signed, and we'll get the thing to the Board of Ed, who typically meets the last Monday of the month. So if all's said and done, the end of February, we could have the building turned over if everything works out right now.
Question when I
Side,
can.
if you will. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer your questions
Quick
about
question.
that process.
Okay.
When we were doing our walk around, what was it, a week and a half ago or so, there was some water infiltration that we pointed out on the first floor, just the other side of the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Has that been looked at?
Yeah, they've looked at all those things. We've actually got other reports of leaks in a room where there's no water except for a sink. And it's a table full of mouthpieces sitting in the middle of the storage room. So where do you think the water came from? So we're getting those sorts of reports. They're all being investigated, and I'll run the ground to make sure there's no issues with that or actual leaks occurring there. We have found a couple of locations where the ceiling tile may have been stained very early on. The leak had been investigated, not repaired, and the ceiling tile hadn't been replaced. So we are looking at those final issues, and we are at this
make
point.
sure that those have been taken care of.
Yes. Yeah. So at this point, we've basically asked Sam to start dealing with warranty issues. So I don't know if you received your list of contractors yet, Sam, or not. If you haven't, we'll make sure you get that. But we tried to get Tammy, out of the middle of this because the construction's basically complete. So any other questions? Mike, got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. The site, you said the site work, and I'm still have a question on the water retention south of the softball fields that needs to not happen.
Most of that issue is they're looking at the grading. That's on the list of for the planning folks, if you will. I think most of that, we have looked at the drainage there. There was a little hump of dirt. The grass has to be established, which is causing part of that problem. Without the grass being established, then it's kind of raw area. And if you look at, I went after the last rain and looked at it, and you can see where all the water is running down to the drain. So we made sure the drain was clear and that sort of thing. So right now it looks like a matter of getting the grass established, and they are looking at the grade to make sure that conforms to the plan.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I coach up at Montville, and there's like a puddle next to one of the fields, and it's just very annoying.
Oh, I understand.
Not have this have to walk through that when you're going.
Well, there's another puddle there that should have been removed, and I got that on my list to talk to planning on the north side there. If you go over there, there's really a pond, which was a temporary retention basin for construction. And that should have been removed and filled in. So I've got an appointment to talk to Deb Jones about that to make sure and take the original plans with her that were approved by them to make sure that they agree that it should be restored to the way the plans show and they don't need anything else. So what that did is allows sheet flow from the north side of the ball field and that sidewalk into the wetlands. And it's still filtered through the grass and what have you, so. And that's what the original plan called for. So we'll get rid of that pond also. We did walk.
There's a lot of water there, and I thought that was a permanent thing because there's.
No, it's a temporary, and people thought it was a permanent, and they didn't look at the plans. And Tammy and I did take a walk on the ball fields. When we had the issue with the turf field, we walked that turf field. We could see little dirty footprints on the bars where they climbed over the fence. And we did walk the softball field and the all-purpose field, and the grass looks really great. I mean, you walk on them, it's like walking on a carpet. It's even softer than walking on the turf field, and it's nice. So when spring comes and they can cut the grass, they should, and of course Sam and folks will have to take a look at that to make sure it's stable, but I think it's good. It's going to be ready to go in the spring.
And those are all irrigated now, so they had to be drained.
They have a drain. The way they're constructed, they have a stone base underneath them, so it should percolate through the soil, topsoil, into the stone and then out. It's not as exotic a drainage system as you have in the turf field because it's dirt, So the drainage has been looked at those, and we walked the day after the rain, and they were perfectly dry. So
no, I was asking about the irrigation piping. Those are all drained currently, probably, right, for the winter.
Oh yeah.
Blowdown, the blowdown happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are tested before they got cold.
Oh yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other middle school stuff?
Yeah.
Kevin is quick.
Before the CEO and everything else, the solar panels. What's the story with them? They're going to be in.
No, I don't know at this point, Kevin. We were not on the list of projects that were accepted. So I got to start from ground zero again on those. We are having a meeting with the company that's the technical arm of the Green Bank, more on the solar on the landfill tomorrow. And I can certainly bring up those to see. I did ask if there's any movement on there, and we still haven't moved up the list. So our next opportunity is
with that is more so the fixtures on top of the roof, guaranteeing we don't hurt the roof itself.
We understand. Yep, that's been looked at, and anything we do, we don't want to avoid the warranty on the roof. So that will be all looked at before anything happens or is attached to the roof. And they were going to be ballasted systems, so it wasn't penetrating the roof membrane, if you will.
Okay.
Okay, any other?
No, for the middle school, I think that's about it. I guess if there are any other questions or concerns, I'll do my very best.
Okay, Kelly, you're up on the elementaries.
All righty, I will start with Mystic River. Mystic River, we have brick veneer, we have ground face veneer being installed throughout the entire building. They're probably about 60 to 70% complete on the veneer, moving along pretty fast. As you drive by, you can definitely see the progress. Dried in about 100% in area C, which I believe I mentioned last time. We are about 95% dried in A and B. The only issue with dry in A and B is roofing those slab on deck areas. We're on hold a little bit over there, but we do have it substantially dried in. So they are moving into those areas, and they are doing mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, teledata rough-ins now in area A and B. They're substantially complete in area C. They're just, finishing up some loose ends here and there. And then some RFI work like the heat trace item still running through, and insulating pipes. And behind that, they are, with approval from our building official, they are insulating and they are sheetrocking the walls in all floors. They started with the 3rd floor in area C, and they're moving to the 2nd floor, and they have a good amount done on the 1st floor. So they're moving along pretty fast inside with finishes going up. Areas A and B, pretty much just rough-ins going in. All the walls are up. So we have all layout complete, and temp walls are in. So it's warm, very warm in there. Besides that, the playscape's complete. And I think that's pretty much it, besides some rooftop equipment that's going to be going up there within the next week or so. So that's all I got for Mystic River. We did have some COVID issues on that site. Our cleaning company, Scope, or our cleaning crew from Scope, we had one positive case, few close contacts. So they, did the proper measures to make sure, do their contract tracing, and everyone that we know was good. So those people have been removed from the site for 2 weeks. And another safety issue we had there, ONG did stop work on the roofer. They were not complying to their fall protection guidelines. There was no injuries, but they did notice that they were not complying. So they made them stop work for I think it was one day they stopped work. They brought in a second crew, a new crew, removed everyone from the site, and they continued work. So they moved along on that with no schedule impacts. And closing dates, I mentioned that we're all set there. Just a couple more days until we can get that roof on.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? I'm sorry. For the purpose of the minutes, we want to detail COVID issue. I mean, I think the update's important for this group, right? But
yeah.
But I don't know if that's something we want to include in the minutes.
I'm okay with just updating you guys and you not putting in the minutes, but
I'm just looking for guidance on
yeah.
what everybody wants to do. I have no problem doing all the reporting or writing it down. That's
Right.
not the issue. I just, is that something,
The public may see it and kind of, get a little
Kind of go
nervous.
crazy, Yeah. Well,
that's why I'm asking.
yep. We have, that goes along with what Kelly's saying. We have talked with ONG, both Brian and I. They did have a stand down before the holidays. It wasn't real successful. They had another stand down after the holidays because we were really hammered on them that they needed to comply. They are wearing masks better. In fact, the last time I was on the site, everyone had theirs on. But I mean, you can see where we are with, even though they're doing that, they still have issues because we can't control what happens when they go off site.
That was
so yeah. So in this climate, if you will, that's difficult. But if we want to put a simple comment that we discussed COVID-19 protection or something like that, instead of going into great detail. I mean, Bob, I think we'd be looking for something from you on that, or what you think, or committee as a whole kind of thing.
So as long as we're doing the proper contact tracing.
Yep, doing that.
And anybody that's identified is off, for the isolation period.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can just say that we're working within the parameters.
Right.
As long as it's not interfering with the schedule itself.
Right.
I mean, once it impacts schedule, I'm going to have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've only had a couple of issues, not necessarily schedule on the site, except for the roof. But we just recently heard, sheetrock's a little slow getting there, and it's from the shipper, the manufacturer, or something, but we haven't heard a great impact to the schedule like we heard early on at the middle school. But then again, casework hasn't been ordered yet and isn't coming,
No,
so.
I meant on-site.
Oh, I know, on site, yeah. No,
We're
we've,
not gonna talk about any off-site impact.
yeah,
but,
yeah.
um,
So on
I don't
site,
know what everybody else's feeling is. I'd like to be as transparent as possible.
I
yeah, I
think, yeah.
understand that.
Right. Well, the thing is too, that you have to look at, you might have to talk to the town lawyer and see what we're obligated to have to say.
I
And
don't know.
just,
Yeah.
you know, only report what we're supposed to report.
I just think it's important for us to be transparent, like Bob said, because I mean, we have to do it through the school, and whether they
Right.
contracted in property or not, that's not the issue. Just to be aware that it's there, because if for some reason we get farther down and for some reason we're lagging in a schedule, you know, or you know how it is in town, somebody working on the property or whatever, and they say, oh, well, so and so got COVID and it wasn't. I just think it's important. It's a nature of what we're going through right now
Right,
in
right.
every
Understand.
place. So
I think it
I
would be-
personally, I don't have a problem with having it,
I think
something
it would
like
be
that in the
better
minutes.
accepted for us to say, you know, we acknowledge that these things are occurring, you know,
Right.
as they go, and here's what we're doing to mitigate it.
Yeah.
So that people understand that, you know, we're putting everything in place that we can, and therefore it's highly, you know, it's more likely that they're getting something off-site rather than
Right.
on.
Right. And
Yeah.
they're following all the guidance and protocols, you know, so
Yeah,
that would be important to say.
make that very clear.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing, just there have been no delays due to COVID-19 protocols.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
And just one thing to add on that, Brian, you're probably want to put this, ONG's policies, they've adjusted those, and if someone on site is caught without a mask on, they are removed from the site for that day, and then a second time they're removed from the site permanently. Because we were having issues with them not wearing their masks, so they put that in place, and honestly, like Rick said, it's gotten much better.
Okay. Yeah, totally. So that's why I wanted to frame this. I'm going to put it into both schools, right? Because I think it's
Right.
important. But I didn't want to operate outside the lines here and wanted to make sure
Mhm.
everybody on the committee was comfortable with me doing something like that. I
No, I
share.
think it's a
share
very
your-
good thing to bring it up, and I think it's very important that we all talk about it and understand how we're going to deal with it in terms of, you know, what are we telling the public? And I think it's very important for us to be transparent, but
Yep.
in the same time is make sure they understand what we have in place to mitigate.
Yeah. I'll detail that. And you know, the good thing is it's not propagating on site. You know what I mean? It's not continuing. We're having mass outbreaks. We're having a guy that identified, so him and his crew member go home to keep them away from everybody else. So I'll do my best to sort of capture this in a sort of a 50,000 foot view. Sort of the committee is discussing it and making sure there's compliance, and we'll just make it a general note and we'll go from there. And
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean, in the
add
same
or take away, you let me know.
in the same sense that, you know, either Dave or I ask you each week, you know, what are the safety issues? Has anybody gotten hurt? I think this is the same type of thing is,
Right.
Yeah, we
you know,
discuss it every day.
we're paying attention, you're paying attention, and the public knows that we're doing everything we can to keep it, you know, from being something that affects the schedule and the public.
Yeah, so we haven't had, you know, you recall at the very beginning of the middle school that we had problems with the Masons because they were carpooling and people had seen that. And they were coming from out of state. We haven't had any of those, but I think, again, like you guys are saying, I think it is wise to mention that we're following all the protocols, because that at least lets them know that if they think they see something, it's not affecting what we're doing and not endangering anyone, if you
And
will.
also lets the public know that we're aware of it.
Right.
And we're paying attention.
Correct. Great.
Thank you all for that. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, Kelly's got a whole other school there.
Any other questions on Mystic River? All right, moving on to Thames. We'll continue with COVID there. Same issue with scope. They cleaned the trailers, they cleaned the building. So the same person was there as well. No other issues with them. We did have a mason who came back positive. They had 5 close contacts on site. All 5 people went home, got tested, and came back negative. So it's really good news. That stuff gets really nerve-wracking, but That's what we have for COVID updates. No safety issues there. We had a couple day delay on the roof because ONG shut down both roofing crews. We have the same roofer, but they're back on track. Area C roof is finally complete. The vapor barrier on area A and B, the lower roof, is down. So now they are working on getting that complete, and that should be done. Area B should be complete by tomorrow, and then A within five days or so. They're still working weekends. Veneer is ongoing, so the brick is going up. They have the ground face CMU and the exterior going up. Besides that, AVB is being sprayed pretty much all over the building. It's almost complete. Interior work, and the playscape is being installed, so we'll get some photos over to you on that because that looks really nice as well. They're about 50% complete with that. Interior wise, they are continuing with mechanical, electrical, plumbing in area C, HVAC, teledata rough-ins. Behind approval from Earl, the building official, they are insulating and drywalling, starting on the first floor, unlike Cutler where they start on the third floor. Just sequencing issues there, but they're moving along. I think that's it for area C. Testing is ongoing, and then in area A and B, layout is pretty much about 80% complete with the walls. They are doing some rough-ins in there, but not too much yet. Waiting on the roof to get on. And then our ground face CMU that we were waiting for has finally arrived. So they will be done installing that exterior cafeteria wall that you can see that's missing by the end of next week, I think he said. Oh no, mid next week. Yeah. So dry-in dates for that project, we have next week for area B, and then first week of February for area A. See, did I miss anything?
No, if you could have gone faster though, because I only have to write this down, so that's fine. Just go ahead and hammer through it at warp speed. That's totally great.
We do have windows coming, right, Kelly?
Windows mid-February.
Yeah, mid-February. So those things are starting to come. The heating the inside of the building in those areas that are closed in. So we're really moving along. So we're still kind of in the same situation tour-wise. Maybe we could do a onesie, twosie or something like that. But we certainly couldn't have a big group. So, if folks want to do that, we'll play it by ear. We can contact me or Kelly, and we can do something in that regard. A couple other things. We did have our first move meeting. We started a little earlier than with the middle school. And that's only because we have 3 into 2 instead of 2 into 1. So there's a whole lot more challenges there. But that was pretty well attended, and we went through the basics. I was unable to stay through the whole meeting, but we are looking at it and getting those kind of things in order where we're going. Today we did have a good meeting on field irrigation. So we pretty much laid that out, what we thought it should be. So now we're going to wait for the prices to see what they are, and then we'll have to come to you and say, do you want to do this or not? So the basic thought on the whole thing is, we'd irrigate the ball fields inside the fence line. So for example, at West Side or Thames River, it would be inside the baselines all the way to the outfield fence, which would encompass any soccer field that may be in the outfield and that sort of thing. So that's what they're looking at. We're looking at having a convenience outlet there in case they need to plug in something. And we're looking at the positioning of the control panel and whether they can do that through Wi-Fi or something else so we can get it on the building maintenance computer system. So we're working on that. And hopefully in a week or so, by the next meeting, maybe we'll say something. I don't know if I mentioned it to this group. I may have mentioned to you, Bob, but we did have in our original budget $300K for playscapes and fields. those are included now in the site contract. So that money is going to be moved down to owner contingency. If we looked at the change order log that was forwarded today, so we can answer questions on that next week if people want to take a look at it, or next meeting. We are doing really well at this stage. You know, we do have a little bit higher change orders, if you will, at Cutler, and that's primarily because of the change of the driveway, the water in the road, saving the tree, that kind of thing. And it's still way below 1%. And on the west side, or Thames River, it's a lot less at this point, but we're working with the construction manager to make sure we start getting all those things in. So if you have any questions about that, feel free. I mean, you can pass them on to Bob, but you know, we'll be able to answer more questions at the next meeting after you've got a chance to look at it, because typically we try and get it to you for the first meeting of the month. But with all the things going on, it was a little hectic trying to get the FF&E and the holidays and all that stuff in. So any other questions you may have on the elementary schools, we'd be happy to try and answer them for you. So we can.
Just one, Rick, probably for Kelly. We're not experiencing any delays in material yet, are we? Are we seeing any?
We're tracking a few items, but nothing that's delaying the project. So we have our main distribution panel, which we're tracking for a early March delivery date. We hoped it would come earlier, but lead times are 2 weeks longer than normal. Our drywall, they have the mold resistant drywall. They are having trouble getting just normal drywall, but they're continuing with no extra costs with mold resistant drywall. So no issue there. And besides that, we had a little delay on our DOASs, our units on the roof, but those have arrived. So tracking items, but nothing that has pushed the schedule behind.
Okay.
And then one thing, Rick, did you want to talk about the Promethean board cost?
Oh yeah, we'll bring that up. The Promethean boards this time, and for some reason, our construction manager put them in the electrical contract as opposed to leaving them for technology. We did look at those costs. We did a review with the architect. They wanted to increase the size of the Promethean boards in the classrooms to match the middle school, which we think's a good idea, which we would recommend to you. But aside, also then we reduced the size of those boards in the conference rooms, because there is recommendations on the size of those screens for certain size rooms and that kind of thing. So we're able to add some and subtract some. But the bottom line right now is they're estimating in the vicinity of $105,000 to $110,000 to change those boards. So we wanted to just get an initial discussion. You don't have to say yes or no tonight, but this is the initial information. If we can get some additional, we'll bring it to the next meeting. But at some point, we're going to have to make a decision whether to go forward with that or not. The condition we are in with our budget, it's not an issue at this particular point. I think we can certainly handle it and still be in very good shape. But you know, again, it's kind of an out of scope change of plan, if you will. So we would need your folks' concurrence with that.
Rick, can you do me a favor and just remind me, is that cost you just quoted, is that for both schools?
No, that's for the one school.
On each, yeah,
Yeah,
100,000.
it's about 100,000 on plus or minus on one. We're still working with them on
And
costs.
correct me if I'm wrong, but most of that has to do with changing the mounting systems as well as
No, it's
the size of the board.
No, that's the cost of the boards.
It is a little bit of an increase of the size of the mount that would be used for the larger boards, but
So it's probably the board and the mount, if you will, because it comes as a one piece or whatever. But it's in the electrical contract this time, so we don't have as much control over the cost as we did at the middle school, unfortunately. But it's one of those things trying to live with and get through here.
So we haven't put anything in place in the walls yet. as far as?
Well, they'll be the
what's
same
going-
kind of
is that
boxes.
correct?
No, they'll be the same kind of boxes, the same type of wiring. It'll just be a
No,
different
no, I know,
mount.
I meant support wise.
Well, we did put blocking to support the larger boards on the wall, but that was a very minimal cost. So it may have been
That was one of the change orders I was gonna question.
yeah, there was very minimal cost for that. That would have been a wise thing to do, whether we went to the other boards or not, because we know they would have changed to a larger side board somewhere along the line. And that cost, we could probably,
Have costs associated with that. It was a question during bid time that if the blocking that was already in the walls would be sufficient for these boards. And the installer came back and confirmed that what we had designed was sufficient for the larger size boards. So it was a zero cost for that.
well, we're good. And that's,
Either Rick or Brian. Can you just answer, I guess, for both sites, the design deficiencies again on this site here? How much of this is normal and how much is this? I mean, I'm looking at some of these numbers and it looks like some of this stuff is just BS to the point of someone should have caught this or planned this ahead of time.
Yeah, so the information I gave before when it was asked, I think it was Dave that asked originally, but it was, usually, the 3 to 5% type range is the range you look at and say, oh, we may have a problem. When you get to 5% against construction value in a design deficiency situation, that's when people start to hire people like my company, not me, another arm of my company that deals with, arbitration and legal suits and all of that stuff. But I don't think if you're taking it against construction value, if you had $100 million project, 5%, you'd have to have $5 million in design deficiencies, if that puts it in perspective for you.
See, it's not even so much the money, what it's costing. It's the time and everything that goes in there. If it should have been something that should have been planned either by the architect, the people bidding, or what, someone along the line, there seems to be a lot of it.
Yeah.
Maybe very low in cost in the sense of at the end of the run, but it's time and that's money.
No, and I understand. And I think that, Rick and Kelly and a little bit of me, we feel that, we know that. And this is part of the management of the project. I don't like it any more than anybody else does, Kevin. And I think that, at the end of the day, if there's something to be done, that's not going to present itself as an option till much, much later in the project. And, when we have some of these things, unfortunately, these were tight timelines. There was short turnarounds on some of these design entities and issues and the like. So, there are sometimes things that happen. I agree with you. It is a lot of jerking around, and it is a lot of time to go through all these issues and nail them down. At this point, though, I would say that it wouldn't be my best advice to drill down into that too deeply, and you kind of need to let it shake out and see what it looks like versus the whole project. We will continue to, manage the design team and have these coming to Jesus's, if you will, and do those types of things to get some things straightened out along the way. I think everybody's been pretty proactive at that, but it's hard to say, what are you going to do? We can beat them with the wet noodle, and yell at them and give them a hard time for things that are that. But on the contractual side of life, there's not something that we say, oh my goodness, they didn't put in boilers, this is just not only errors emissions, this is gross negligence. And that's a tough line to cross, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
As of right,
I do. But at the end of this project, I would like my chairman to know if a certain company or an architect or somebody is at fault, because I might be reaching out, or this committee could be reaching out to a company in the future, and we may not want to even go to that company.
well, and certainly Kevin, we would recommend that at the end. I mean, we will have those discussions. Some of the issues, there's any number of reasons, whether it was not contained in the buyout, whether it was a coordination issue, which I have sort of issues with the way the industry does their coordination. That's kind of a separate issue. That's why we highlight who we feel is responsible for what thing. If we look at the project as a whole, we actually probably have a lower percentage of change orders on these projects for being 50% done with the project, if you will, as opposed to the other one. And we understand your pain and we feel your pain, but again, the goal is to get the project done. And if we have to live with some of that stuff, we do. We try and minimize things as much as possible, obviously. And we come to you for things that are out of scope, out of line, out of cost, you know, that kind of thing, to keep you cut in and provide those things to you. But I can assure you we're doing the best we can, the team, to keep those things down.
I'm not
I think one of
blaming
Kevin's-
the team or anything else on
I
it.
understand.
I'm just looking down in the future and how to eliminate problems for this town as we go forward.
I understand that. And that we could do a series of lessons learned or whatever, of what we think are contractors. We've done that. Public Works has done that. They have a list of contractors that they wouldn't hire to paint the side of the building or whatever. So those things will be captured, and we can have that discussion of the lessons learned and what we think about individual performance when we get to that point. You know, we always have
But
the
I
business
also-
decision to make, that do we do something about that? Or is it worth lawyers' time and people's time to try and recover some of the costs for some of those things that weren't done? So that's in everybody's mind, Kevin.
Well, I think it's important to make sure that, you know, we understand why these things are happening, because we're looking forward and there's still 50% of a building left. And what we don't want to have happen is to uncover something at 75% that makes us go back to 50.
Right, understand.
Right. Without looking at it, because it's not right in front of me, what is our percentage of the design deficiency at the moment?
It's probably less than 1%. It's very small.
So if we're at
No.
50% and we're less than 1%, then, you know, we're going to be well under the 3 to
Oh, yeah.
5% that
Well, and those
that's been
are
mentioned.
And those are either things that appeared, other costs weren't charged necessary to our contingency, or weren't owner's request stuff. You know,
Yeah.
so for example, at Cutler, the fact that we saved the tree for X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars and put the water line in the road was a request or an owner's request, really.
Right.
So those things need to be sorted out too. So again, if we look at the middle school, for an example, just for an example, you know, 50% of the change orders were stuff that were either required by the authority having jurisdiction, fire marshal, what have you, school, this committee, other entities, if you will, and it was broken down to about 50-50. Now, of that 50%, there were some design issues and other issues. So when all's said and done, we pull that all together, look at it, say, do we think the architect did a reasonable job? And we can certainly have that discussion on all three of these projects when we get to that point.
Okay.
So
Any more questions on the elementary schools?
or life in general, like we could talk.
On the elementary schools, are they all closed in now?
No.
Okay.
Mystic River is, and Thames is going to be first week of February.
Okay. We're not having any weather issues anyway, you know, I mean, as far as it's not compromising the building at all.
No, we'd like to thank the committee for keeping control of the weather for these last 2 winters.
How are we doing on the propane versus natural gas, and when do we think that we'll have the gas going?
Natural gas at Mystic will probably be complete, hopefully in the next week or so. We finally just got some things finalized over there. And that will be tied in by CNG. And then once they're done, then we can, or Eversource, sorry, wrong job. And then we can do our final connections and, you know, transition from propane. We are about a month out at Thames though. So we're tracking
even come March, you're still gonna need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firewall and taping for sure.
Mhm.
Paint.
So that'll be good. Okay.
Any other questions for the elementary schools? Kelly, thank you. All right. Moving on. Do we have any unfinished business we want to play with tonight?
Yeah, I don't have anything else for you other than what we've discussed during the proceeding.
And we've already done the FF&E and the middle school construction project closeout discussions. So I will ask if anyone has anything they'd like to add to this.
Yeah, no, because we've already discussed the locks. That issue's been taken care of. So no, I don't think so, Bob.
Everybody good then?
I'm good.
Excellent. Thank you all for your time and patience, and stay safe. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Good night.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Take care, gentlemen.
Yep.
You too, sir. You too. I'm still writing notes. Kelly with the rapid fire on me here.
Well,
I answered my question. You got to get the grin off of Kelly's face. She was.
That's what I'm saying, Brian. You should have assigned one of those PMs the job of taking the notes. You know, I mean.
You know, I'm a glutton for punishment.
You should be recording this so you can go back to it.
Oh, that can be a really sticky wicket.
I think I think Sean from the library does record these things. So
yeah, it's physically recording right now as we're speaking, but it's what you do with it afterwards, right?
Well,
I don't go there.
So. Go to the town website and play it back on YouTube.
I'm already on YouTube for the town of Groton multiple times at this point with the committee of the whole. So I don't need any more exposure, Kevin.
What, for the Board of Ed or for the town?
For the town, for the committee of the whole, for the council.
Yeah, I mean the Board of Ed has a cow also.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, no, this is for the big one, you know.
I don't know if they have a cow anymore. I was looking at Christie's blanket that she was laying on. It looked like some poor cow lost its hide or something there.
I thought it was a past dog.
Oh.
Wow, that's terrible.
Take care, gentlemen. I'll see you in 2.
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
Oh man.
Yeah, I figured I'd hang for a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry about the COVID question, Rick. It's like I'm just.
No, that's fine. I mean, we need to say something, and I agree that if we just say we're meeting the requirements, any issues that come up are dealt with per, you know, the health department or whatever those requirements. You know, that's good. So
yeah, I'm going to make some reference to the state mandates and you know all the protocol and that we did additional stand downs.
You know, basically any issues that come up are dealt with in accordance with, and we follow the protocols on site with the mask and the this and that.
Additional hand washing stations.
Yeah, because all of it's second, third-hand information. I mean, we don't know exactly whether Joe Schmatz got it and who he talked to and somebody else.
No, I know.
By the way, you don't need to go into that level of detail on anything. So
right.
Kevin's got things.
I will tell you, I almost screwed up though. when we were talking about the middle school, the word chiller was right here, and I'm like, the bit. Let me say something.
I was thinking about it, and I didn't say anything either. And then Kelly said heat trace once.
Yeah, I let that fly too. It's just stone faced. Let's
that went in passing. So hopefully we'll have better information on that by the next meeting and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, and you know, I'm trying to do my best to skate around this issue, Rick, about, you know, design deficiencies. I mean, they need to understand that shit happens, you know, and you know, I'll tell you something, you know, that you probably already know, but from working in the claims, you know, and having this whole division of these things, you can ask any of my guys that work with me on the claim side. There's no winner there.
No, there's not. Everybody loses, then the lawyers win. I mean,
everybody spends a ton of money, and then there's always compromises, right? There's always compromises.
And for the town, what Kevin's saying sometimes doesn't make any sense, because the town will go with the low bidder, even if there is some questions, because they're worried about having to defend themselves by selecting the second guy. So Kevin, get a friggin' life, you know.
Well, they don't know that, right? Because they don't experience that, and sometimes I just want to blurt shit out like that, but I'm like, oh God, how do I?
Yeah, right.
You know, you do your best to try to answer the questions without really stepping in it, and this is a weird committee situation, you know.
Well, it is, yeah, because they have no power. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. I am so used to it being the other way around that it is an odd. It is an odd set of waters to navigate, if you will, you know.
Well, how do you think I feel sitting on top of this barbed wire fence and trying to keep from sitting down on it, you know?
Watch your job by any stake of the imagination, you know.
Well, and my previous boss put me here. I mean, he put it that way because he wanted to give them some things, because they were always complaining about not being, and really the committee, the way it was set up, the building's built by the builder. All they needed to do was certify certain things to the council. And by the way, they're way beyond that now.
Yeah.
Certify the plans before they go out to bid. So I could have said, Kevin, did you review those plans? You were supposed to certify them.
I try not to poke the bear, man.
I know. He's a good guy. Some of these questions are just a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, that's how you learn stuff. I mean,
yeah. So, hey, listen, I'm just going to toss this out there for whatever it's worth, right? You know, there's probably money in our contract if you need a new computer.
Oh, I know. We could do it. We could buy one. I'm going to have somebody come take a look at it and see what's going on with it.
I'm just letting you know that I can procure something right from our our internal.
Well, let me see if Greg's really serious first.
I get it. I'm just throwing it out there saying I don't foresee that as a problem, Rick.
Yeah, I took my laptop out and went dead, and I'm looking at my thing and I can't find my charging cord. So then I went back on this computer. What a pain in the neck.
Yeah, so
so I think by and large things went pretty well, and we're in pretty good shape. You know, it's just you know, sometimes they push for a little more, and you give them what they need to get. I try and not give them what they don't need to get. You know, it's just like the Board of Ed next Monday. I say to Joe, show them the budget, show them the previous presentation that shows all the pretty rooms with the furniture in it. That's all they need to friggin' know to make a decision that, yeah, it's under budget. We got all this pretty new furniture. Approve it and be done with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I try to take those visual cues from you, because I can sort of tell when you're ready to, you know, say something. I try to pull back to kind of let some of that happen, you know. Well, I mean, you know, I'm a chatty guy, Rick, you know.
I know. Yeah, me too sometimes. But then again, I don't know if I ever told you I worked with Jean-Michel Cousteau on a project over in New London. We're trying to build like a space camp. Yeah. Says when you turn 50, tell everybody everything you know. Otherwise, it never gets passed down. I mean, lore like that is. So Kelly's probably tired of hearing from me.
Well, I got to tell you, just so you know, before you told me, I believe in that, right? And I tell everybody all my stories, and half the time they're like, you told us already. And I'm like, all right, then just stop me then. I'm like, but, you know, you guys have to appreciate, if you can avoid doing the stupid stuff that I did, then you're going to be way better than I am, right? Because,
you know, you didn't have to get punched in the face to realize you needed to duck when you walked in the door. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, poor Tammy, that was another shock because she just lost her father not long ago, right? So
yeah. So within, you know, and I really feel for her because, you know, we lost, you know, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law just about a year, you know,
yeah,
just a little over a year apart from each other. And, you know, he just passed recently. And you know, she lost her dad in March, I think it was. And then,
right,
you know,
right.
Rob just lost his dad now in January. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I feel bad and for her, and I told her just go home, don't worry about it. But I'm going to follow up with Ryan on a couple of items because I don't really have a warm and fuzzies from her that, you know, we had X, Y, and Z items closed.
Right, right. So, you know, when you follow up with them, I guess the most important thing we got to get done is get this chiller and glycol thing sorted out and get them moving on that. So,
Yeah. I mean, I like Mark said in the meeting, I mean, him and I talked and I'm like, look, Mark, no one's looking to wait. The heater blocks in this.
yeah, I'd like not to have to put that on the letter saying this thing doesn't work, you know.
And that's another reason why I didn't mention it today.
Yeah, right.
But,
So,
all right.
okay. Well, I think
Well,
things went fairly well, and
yeah.
Joe was okay. I mean, we kind of kept that contained, and Lindsay does a good job. So,
Yeah, I thought that was well, and I thought it was well received at OSCGR today. And you know, I called Emily afterwards and I said, listen, she's like, I'm sorry, I did a lot of talking. I'm like, dude, just lead the ship, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, you should have taken over, kicked the architect in the butt, and got going there. You know, I mean,
just direct the forces. Because I was looking at EDO 49 for this 504 compliance officer.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you had asked the question and I'm like, okay, here it is, page 2. And then so her and I were chatting and I'm like, just verify this is exactly right. She's like, no, that's right. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Because I called Kelly and I said, Brian said you were going to call me. She says, well, I'm looking for this form that I'm supposed to give you or fill out for you or something. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
so that was
you know, I sometimes send, you know, it's the truth. I sometimes send them out there, even though I might know what it is, right? Because it's the only way they're going to learn, you know?
That's the only way they learn is by sometimes, you know, they come in and say something and I just kind of look at them and say, well, that's something just like the architect. Go look at our friggin' regulations. They're online, you know?
Yeah.
That's your job. That's not my job.
And well, and then Kelly's like, well, where do I look? And I'm like, well, I don't know, Kelly, like you're in charge of this thing, right? Like, you know, even though I knew it was on the
she's asking where you look. Even I know to go to the DAO's website. I mean,
well, you know, and people sometimes lack that
portals, state portal. Yeah.
You know, it's like they're like, well, just give me the answer. And I'm like, you know, did I ever tell you about teaching a man to fish? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that's my point, right? You don't get it, right? If I
had to laugh. I said, Amanda Fish, wasn't she some gal I met at a bar one night?
She might have been.
Yeah, it might have been. Brian, shit.
You know, you got to have a little fun with these things because otherwise,
I know.
Crazy,
sometimes,
right?
You know, sometimes, you know, I still think about the kids, and I gotta hang up the uniform someday here and get going. But it's okay.
Well, listen, I will tell you, it's been really good for both Tammy and Kelly to work with you. And this is, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Okay. I'm being serious. They need to understand, you know, sort of dealing with someone who has experience like you and how to manage through and around that. Right. Because, you know, and they can't take it so personally, and they have to know that, you know, some people want a lot of information, some people don't want none, and knowing how to adjust your management style
right
to deal with that is very important, right? So
well, that's part of the problem I see in, not so much with your guys, but in the civilian community as a whole. You know, if you say they're not doing a good job, they take it personally. Well, your performance is separate from the person. I might love the heck out of the person,
right,
but it's a dumb shit, you know, or she, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, so sometimes it's difficult for them to separate that. I mean, it's easier in the military, but it's hard there sometimes. But they're both doing well with them.
I have a couple of criers.
Yeah.
And every time you give them any feedback, you know, it's a waterworks immediately. and one of the women, you know, I will tell you, she has come such a long way, you know, and you know, and she started to tear up when I was kind of giving her business about something she did on a job, right? And she choked it back, right? And we were done. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, do you understand what I'm saying? And she's like, yeah, I get it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, don't do that again, right? You know, I mean, like, fix it, you know? And she's, you know, the lip, the quiver.
Yeah.
And then I looked at her and I said, listen, and I said, you did a good job not crying, okay? Because I'm done with that, right? I mean, you've been here a bunch of years. I haven't fired you yet, right? I mean, obviously you're getting it done. I'm just giving you feedback, right? You don't need to take it so personally, you know? If I took it personally every time someone said, oh, can you change this? Or you effed up on a meeting minute, or you
yeah, right.
this font on the schedule or whatever. I said, Jesus, I would have jumped off a building a long time ago, you know?
So it's funny with my son when they're sailing, because he's been at it for so long or whatever. Some of the young guys don't want to get the look, because if they're screwing up, he gives them the look, you know, and they're going, you got to do it right or you get the look, you know?
Yeah.
So we all handle that kind of stuff a little differently, you know, which is okay.
You know? We do. And you know, we learn from each other, right? Because I see
that's it.
how you deal with conflict and how I deal with conflict, and my other clients deal with conflict, and I'm like, okay, there's something to be learned here, you know?
Well, and that's why I ask you so much of this stuff too, because I have no other sounding board really. And,
yeah, I'm happy to do it, man.
Yeah, so I mean that's great too, and that's been very helpful on some of this stuff.
I always try to pick up the phone if all possible.
Yeah, no, sometimes I feel like, oh geez, I bother Brian a little bit, but sometimes I just like to.
Hey, Rick, always remember you signed the front of the check, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you need.
Yeah, I know. So Tammy's going to be out for a while, so that's okay. I mean,
yeah, she might be 3. I think we'll give her up to 5 days because
if she's out for the week or in the middle of next week past, that's probably okay. I mean, we're at a condition where a lot of the stuff, I'm straightening out a couple of invoice things where I saw double payments were made, so they're saying, oh, I need the PO to increase this by 27,000, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, there's 2 invoices. These were paid on a previous PO. These need to be paid on this PO. We can't pay them twice on 2 different POs.
Yeah.
So I talked to our friend next door, and she's going, "Oh, I don't understand that." Yeah, Valerie sometimes is like, "I don't understand." She's like clueless, and her and Tammy were going at it tooth and nail on this particular document, but neither one of them noticed that the same requisitions and payment were listed twice on 2 different POs. So sometimes it's just like you, sometimes it's the experience of having done it, and whether you consciously know where to look or whether subliminally you know where to look, you usually know where to look. You usually find it.
Yeah, or you know where to start at least, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Stumble into it, right?
Right.
I can't stand what do I do now?
Yeah.
What do I do? And it's like, what do you mean what to do? I don't know. Do you have a phone that has Google on it? Ask Google. I mean,
sound like the ET.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, ask Google, call Siri. I mean, whatever you got to do. I mean, start to find your answer. Come with the solution, not the problem, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well.
All right, sir.
I think we had enough fun for tonight. So.
Indeed, we have. I will be around all day tomorrow, and I'm going to call Ryan and try to make sure I understand if there's anything outstanding. What I told Tammy to do is go home.
Yeah.
Deal with your stuff. I said, when you get a clearer head, over the weekend or Monday, I said, call me at home. And if you have things that are on your docket that need to be straightened out, then let me know and I'll get them straightened out. So
yeah. So we shouldn't hear from her till next week. And I know she's.
I'll talk to her.
Not quite like that, but yeah.
I know her husband pretty well.
Yeah, just go and do what you need to do. That's what I told her.
She's so worried though, you know, Rick. She's always so worried. The kid's a worry wart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Jesus, what did Rick say? What did you say?
Sometimes, you know, that doesn't help. You gotta be able to lean back and put your feet up and say, what do I really want to do here? Or you yell at night when you're sleeping. My wife says, "Oh, you're yelling at documentation the other night." I said, "That's because my architect's so screwed up." You know what I mean?
Well, I tell you, I have this thing that I do, right? Because I've learned, you know, I've learned that this is necessary for me. When I'm super pissed off, I write my email, right?
Right.
But I put nobody in the correspondence box, right? So I don't do
Right.
something stupid and hit send by accident.
Yeah.
And I literally write it in the language and how I'm feeling at the minute, right?
Right.
And
Oh,
then
that's a good idea. Yeah.
and then I close it.
Yep.
And I'll usually open it the next day, laugh at myself, right, and then send it away. And send something else away. You know what I mean? Something more professional and level-headed, because I know I can be a hothead. You know what I mean?
But you probably look at it and you say, you know, that's really true. You know.
No, I do say that, you know. I'm like, but you can't tell the dude that he's an F&A, but da. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to work in business.
Yeah,
you know?
unfortunately.
But
okay.
All right, sir. Well, thank you for your time. It's
thank you, and it's been a pleasure. So we'll talk to you tomorrow sometime, I guess, and see what's on the schedule.
Sounds good,
Go
Rick.
from there. You know, we appreciate Tom getting engaged and doing that stuff too, and moving forward. So that's good.
Yeah, you know, not to belabor, but I did have a conversation with Tom. I want to change the narrative on how things go down, especially when it comes to the surplus.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm kind of embarrassed by how that went down. So I told him when you start to get your meetings together, let's talk about identifying what's coming over. You know, sort of what you were saying about the special crap,
special stuff. Yeah.
And then if we get that down, then we can start doing inventory sooner than later. But I told him, I said, this first time, Tom, about, you know, Brittany working herself without oversight from you, or you submitting something without going through all this. I said, this is not a situation where you can just set people on a task and forget about it. You are responsible. I do not want to have these conversations again. You're an experienced guy. I will give you the help that he needs. I will bring 2-3 people down.
Yeah, right.
But I don't want to deal with this again where I have to sit in front of Greg and apologize because, you know, we didn't read, and to yourself about, you know, we didn't read to see if it said purple table or music stand or there's something
or review a room or review the work for the day. All you do is do that. If you get some confidence that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, maybe you don't have to do it so often. But that's all that management style kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. But I did have a conversation with him about that because you know, we have done this a lot and there's really no excuse that happens. So you know, I take responsibility for my company.
We did tell folks too, we have a little bit longer to dispose of the surplus materials because we're not tearing those buildings down right away to put something else up. So there's going to be a little less pressure at the back end, I think.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to get stuff moved, you know, June, July timeframe, or even June if elevator and teachers are packed and whatever. There's no reason they can't. Without being in school now, there's no reason they can't start packing pretty soon. You know.
Yeah, right. And so that was sort of my comments to Tom too, is like, look, let's get all the stuff moved over and then let's ask Rick how he feels, because to me, it makes sense in a way because of the time we have to get this stuff flagged so we know exactly what's
right.
And then go back and do a very thorough inventory by school and then deal with the surplus process in September.
Yeah, because if we want to wait that long or but anyway,
I mean,
but get the stuff out of the way first, so all you have left is that stuff that's surplus.
Exactly.
So that's your point, right?
The public down there is not, I'm going to take this. It's like, no, that's someone else's, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
so that would work.
We can go over those plans in depth a little bit more as
things unravel, unwind. Okay, thanks again. We'll talk to you.
Bye-bye.
End meeting for all.